Anxious to get back to work today, get back on the practice field with our players after a disappointing loss. After reviewing the film, as I said in the postgame, you have to give credit to LSU. They outplayed us, outcoached us, but there are certainly a lot of things that we need to get corrected and can get corrected. So looking forward to get back out there. Another great challenge this week, playing the number one team in the country. We have our hands full and need to play a whole lot better. So, again, need to get back out there and improve this week on the practice field.
The way they run the ball and the way you guys have struggled at times stopping the run,
yeah.
How heavy will you hammer that?
Well, it's, very important. Another physical football team, but not only physical, just it's a numbers game as well. So just very well coached, puts you in some hard predicaments. Obviously, the way Dak is throwing the ball as well, they stress you constantly. So it is a concern. If you look back at last week, I think we did. Believe me, I'm not crazy. I've coached defenses that were pretty darn good against the run. And the good news is if you take away some of the explosive runs that can get corrected in certain spots, just physically, we actually did some very good things. They ran the ball, 51 times, something like that. So, and a good portion of some of that yardage came late, and it came on some finesse runs, some 11 personnel Q runs and things like that. So if you just look at the power run game, we actually improved quite a bit in that game and had some good plays and some good stops and did some good things. And again, I know you could write it how you want. I'm not crazy. I know what good run defense looks like and does not. So certainly we all know we need to get better and improve in certain areas. But like I said, I think some of it was improved.
Mark, how is there any update there? Any tests?
Things look better. Not cleared to play yet, obviously. So I'll wait until the doctors tell me he can get on the field. But I think, things are looking better. When he'll be cleared to practice or play, I have no idea.
Coach, maybe it will be the run defense that you just responded to him, but I'm just curious, when you have a tough loss like that and you go home, there is some good news on the tape usually. You're able to look at something and say, this is what we did well.
I think that was part of it. I mean, we all knew going into that game that that was a big physical football team that wanted to run the ball, and they certainly did. But again, I thought there were quite a few plays in there where it wasn't just constantly getting pushed around, where I thought, just look at the first, just right at the start. And again, there's a lot of mistakes that we could look at in that game, but we start the game with a poor kickoff return and get the penalty, and then, we get a 0-yard gain on first down, incomplete pass on second, and we get the pass, get the penalty, and that's just the discipline. We need to continue to work and get better and get more disciplined on this team, but that penalty hurt. And, if you look throughout the first half, then we get the punt return for a touchdown. But we were hanging in there. We knew it was going to be difficult, not an easy task. But physically, defensively, we were holding up pretty well and playing and doing some good things. And then it gets to be a little much when you're on the field that long. And obviously some big plays that we can and will get corrected.
They got more guys in you.
Yeah, well. Nope. Well, I'm not going to make an excuse, but we just, need to find a way. As I said, going into that game, you really need to play well on all sides, and we certainly didn't do that. And we didn't play good enough on any side, but I thought we had a chance defensively.
And just of what you're saying, that you feel like a lot of things went wrong, but when you went back and looked at it, you didn't feel like you guys were just dominated, I guess?
I think that's fair to say. I don't think we were physically dominated on the field. And again, if you just look at, hey, they ran the ball for 300 yards, you're not generally going to win a lot of games when teams run for 300 yards. We know that's not acceptable, but there were a lot of good physical plays in there by our defensive guys. But when you make mistakes, they're certainly magnified. Mistakes are going to cost you games. They're really going to cost you on the road. At LSU, making the mistakes we did early in that game, it's going to cost you, and it's going to be magnified. And it gets, out of control at that point. We can't have that, and we've got to coach them better, and we've got to be more disciplined across the board.
LSU's corners were making things tough on Patrick. How
Yeah.
would you compare Mississippi State's defensive backfield?
They're different defensively, just structurally they're different. Different style of play, they're just different guys. So.
Mark, what did the film show about the special teams mistakes? Was there any common theme in those?
Well, there's mistakes. There's mistakes that can be corrected and will be corrected. We've all made our mistakes this year, offensively, defensively, special teams. Again, they're magnified against a very talented team on the road. And when you open the game that way, it doesn't kind of set the tone. That's not what you want. So they're magnified, but they're things that can and will be fixed. The punt return, same thing. Little unfortunate that we hit it so good. He kicked it so well. Outkicked his coverage a little bit. We had guys down there. We had, honestly, 5 or 6 guys clean. And we've got to do a better job of closing that gap, spreading the net, and getting them down. And once you get a talented guy started and give him some space, bad things are going to happen to us. There's things that we can get fixed and will. We all take responsibility for that, and we'll make the corrections and we'll move on.
What happened on that opening kickoff?
Sorry.
What happened on that opening kickoff? Were you meaning to kick it short? I mean,
Yeah, that's something that, in hindsight, we would do differently. I told you that at one of my news conferences. Anybody tells you they wouldn't do it different, in hindsight, is lying. So, it was poor execution and poor call, and we didn't kick it where we were supposed to either. So what we were supposed to do on the kick wasn't there. Therefore, it magnified it. So sure, we would do it differently. That's one instance where we were too cute there. So again, I take that responsibility. We take that and we move on. The rest of it is just fundamental things.
Hey, Mark, going into the year, we maybe thought Mississippi State was going to be a decent team, but are you surprised that they're coming in? Like, if we said they were going to be unbeaten coming in this weekend, would you believe us?
I wouldn't have put no thought into that. I would have no idea. I'd be just going out on a limb, and I don't like to do that. So I think if you look at them with their quarterback and with their team, it's not a real big surprise. They're a very talented football team. You could tell they had a lot of confidence coming into the season just by the way they carried themselves at SEC Media, just listening to them, with their quarterback and their leadership. Dan is 6th year into this process, and they have a good-looking team. I noticed that a year ago down there. I noticed how big they were and long, and just they're developed. They do a great job of coaching, and good things it's coming together for them. So they're playing red hot, and it starts with their quarterback. He's as talented a guy as there is in the country. He could run it, he could throw it. He's making great decisions, and their offense puts stress on you. Like I said at the beginning statement, they're well coached. They put stress on you across the board.
Is there anything specific you remember about Prescott from that game last year? Where did he stand out?
Just physically, just a good-looking guy, strong, leader, tough, just everything you want in your quarterback, and in particular with what they do with the dual threat and putting that stress on you.
Is what Dan has done down there sort of the model for what you would like to do? He sort of chipped away and
Yeah.
built a program without a ton of history and at a low spot, and
Well,
got them to a bowl for a few years in a row, and now they've had this.
certainly anybody that's having success in your league and guys you watch, and certainly you look at them and see what they've done. I think they've done a nice job of recruiting, and a lot of times give them credit under the radar with some of the guys that they get out of their state that maybe not a lot of people know about, but they have that great length and great size. And again, you got to give them credit for developing those players. But they're a good-looking team, top to bottom.
Mark, you got any fear at all about the confidence of your kids after a loss like that, since you're in the process
Yeah.
of building versus being established?
Yeah, you do. You worry about it, and we need to address it because, you're gonna go through ups and downs. You're gonna lose some games. When you self-inflict against a good team, and I'm not taking anything away from LSU because they just flat beat us across the board. But when you make a lot of mistakes, you can have a tendency to lose some confidence. And so I told you, other times speaking to you and our team, we've gotten beyond the belief, and then it's about execution and doing things, and then we go out and don't do it very well. So now we got to make sure they don't slip back and start doubting. And it goes back to preparation and work and controlling the things we can control.
Does this feel like unfamiliar territory, considering you guys have played pretty well? You mean you hadn't really been spanked like that this year?
Yeah.
Is this unfamiliar right now?
It is this year. This is a new team. It's the first time we've gone through that, and it is new to this football team, and every team is different. So, yeah, we'll see how we respond.
What do you hope that young group of wide receivers learned from that LSU game?
Well, I hope they learned how to get open versus press. So that's a physical bunch that doesn't give you a lot of space. You have to beat them. You have to make plays. And we can compete at a higher level. We need to be more detailed on some of our routes. And there's a lot of things we could all do better.
When you're playing a number one team, do you find yourself trying to just not let the guys get too psyched about playing the number one team one way or the other?
Yeah, as I've said many times, I'd rather say whoa than giddy up. So if we have a good practice and I got to hold them back, that'll be a good thing, So, but the emotion, I'm only looking for it in our preparation. You certainly don't want them flat walking in the building. You don't want them, being down and all those things. But the excitement level, it's just about how we prepare. And as long as they're focused and detailed and go through our preparation and mentally ready to practice every day and to put ourselves in a position to win the game, then that's what I'm looking for.
How important is getting off that and to get the confidence back?
I think it's always important. It was important last week on the road, and we fought it uphill the whole game. This week, even though we're at home, we're playing the number one team in the country. You can't fall behind. I think it's important. But if we do, we got to learn to face adversity a little better than we did last week.
Smallest nation from Uncle Robert, he seems to be able to get off to get into his routes better, get off
DeMarco? Yeah. Yeah.
And being as small as he is, what did he do different from the other guys?
He did do better. You're right in saying that. And number one, he's a senior. That helps. And so he's got a lot more experience playing against these big dudes that are up there locking them down. So that's one thing. But DeMarco's worked really hard. He has done a nice job of getting open and beating some one-on-ones.
Will you take any confidence from last year and playing so close down there and having a lot of good players?
I think every team is different. But I think, I hope it helps us a little bit, and we'll see how we prepare and how we go through the week.
In your experience, do coaches tend to set the same kind of tone after a lopsided loss, and how much thought do you give into what's the right approach?
I'm not sure if everybody takes the exact same approach every week. I don't know what other people do. It's been different from the coaches I've been around each week, and as I've said before, I think you have to have a good plan, but I go on my instincts and my gut a lot, and sometimes right and sometimes wrong, even in making decisions on the field, and that's where that hindsight comes in. But I think, with this, definitely I put some thought into the message.
Do you feel like you, in some cases, are almost an actor, have to take a different tack than you really feel?
I don't think it's ever an act, ever. I would never use that word to define it. It's about making sure you clearly define the message that you want them to hear. And that really doesn't change much for us a lot as well. Maybe how you deliver it and those things does, but the bottom line is we're all going to accept our responsibility, and we're gonna look at things, get it corrected, and move on. And so again, we'll see how well we respond this week.
Mark, even with the slow start last week, 17-3, you guys were moving the ball, had a chance to do something before mistakes happened. Can you take anything from that, or is that sort of lost?
No, I don't know if you could take much from it, because I felt like, as you know from watching the game, it was an uphill struggle from the first kickoff of the game. But I do feel like we were battling in there, and that's what I was commenting on defensively for a while there. You know, we were hanging and doing some things, and offensively had the ball. You know, we had moved it. We had a long drive for a field goal, and then we were moving it and had 3rd and 1. We missed that opportunity. And you know, that was you know, part execution and part would you do it over? Well, yeah, because it didn't work, you would do it over. You know, so you know, there's things that we can and need to do better in that situation. The bottom line is we didn't make it happen. We didn't deliver. They stopped us, and that was a big turning point, because I believe there was roughly 5 minutes in the half there. You know, if we get a first down, obviously that's time, you know, off the clock. And even when we got the ball back after that, I believe we stopped them right after that, maybe a 3 and out. And they hit a great punt and back us up. And even then, I'm trying to get out of the half. That's what I want to do at that point. It's been an uphill climb. It's 17-3 on the road. We hadn't moved it very well. We're backed up. I want to get out. I want to get first downs and get out of the half, unless we make some big plays and get moving, of course. But I'm really just trying to cut our losses at that point. And then, as we know, they get 10 more points from there, and that's was impossible for us to catch up from that point on.
Well, there's a lot of people that maybe haven't seen Kentucky football play this year around the country. This week it's on a national, network that people are going to get to see. How big is that for you and the team to kind of put Kentucky out there and play well and show what you guys are doing?
I think it's very important. It's important for us to play well. Anytime you're playing the #1 team in the country, you're going to have great exposure. We want to play well and represent our program and what we've been doing and all the hard work, and so it's important for us to go out and play well.
Mark, I don't think Jabari Johnson played in the game last year. What has he done to really work his way into that defensive line?
He gave us some size in there, and he's been doing a nice job at that position, what we call the jack linebacker there, and he's big. He's had a nice feel for it. He's good on his feet, and we felt like we needed some more size in that game. And so he's done some good things. He's earned the right to play, and so we'll continue to rotate between Bud and Jabari and Hatcher at those spots. Pardon me? He did good. He played well. He really did.
Your outside guys, Bud and Z, they've had kind of discipline issues sometimes playing the contain on the outside. How do you preach the emphasizing the discipline with an exceptional athlete like Prescott?
Well, I think it's not always on them. I mean, it's always team defense. Sometimes he may step up and then get out as well, so they're trying to get speed rushes, and our inside guys have to be disciplined and things of that sort. We've had our discipline issues, but contain on the pass rush wasn't always one of them with them. It's not all of them, let's put it that way. But I think it does bring up the point that you're making here, is that we need to have great team defense and great discipline with our pass rush. They have designed runs, and then they have plays where he just ad-libs and makes plays. So he's very talented. Anytime it's tough on defenses, and it's frustrating at times, anytime you play a quarterback that has the experience and feel that he does of making plays. That's why they're number one in our league in total offense.
Maybe it's because Mullen was at Florida. A lot of people compare Prescott to Tebow.
Sure.
Does he look like he's so different? How's he different?
I could see that. I could see people making that comparison. So I never played Tebow, but just as a fan and watching him, I could see people making it, just with Dan coaching them both, and the stress that he puts on you with that offense, with a guy that could do both run and pass. It's just, and they're both physical, so I could see people making that comparison. He, obviously that's a great compliment to Dak, because, Tebow won quite a few games.
I think this is the fourth year in a row that Mississippi State's had an open date before they play Kentucky.
Is it really?
I think so. Is that fair?
Well, we better talk to somebody. Yeah. Well, it is what it is. Nothing I can do about it. It's above my pay grade. Yeah.
Mark,
Go ahead.
the college football spotlight is on the state of Mississippi. Ole Miss is number 3 as well. With you know, with what you guys are trying to install here and what Bobby's doing down the road at Louisville, do you think that someday we could possibly see this similar spotlight in our state?
I don't see why not. I really don't. I feel like we're both working extremely hard to build our programs. We both have great support, and they've been a very talented and good football team, and we're working our way towards that.
On the long runs, the explosive runs that you talked about earlier, with LSU, you said they were correctable mistakes. Did they come from the same area, or were they different people? Did your U show up?
It did, and I think some depth issues hurt us as well. You know, in fairness to a few of our players, we got to try to get them out and get them spelled a little bit as well. We certainly were not as fast later in the game as we were early. So that's coaching. You know, we've got to develop guys and get some guys in there to help and give them credit. You know, if they're going to run it 51 times with those dudes, they're going to break some too. It's not like going into the game that you didn't think they were going to have any explosive runs. I guess the point I was just trying to make it with the power run game, if you just take some of those explosive runs, wasn't that bad. You know, I mean, we had a good dose of some pretty good run fits in there and played more physical than we had been.
Do you expect Zach back this week?
I do expect him back. I don't know at this point, you know, how he'll respond, but I do expect him back this week. Yeah.
What do you need to do to get the run game jump started a little bit? How important is that for the explosive offense?
Yeah, it's important. You know, just like last week. You know, that's where the run game is always important. We all want explosive offense, and we need that, and we want to throw it, and we'll throw it, but you got to have some balance. And just look at Mississippi State. What are they, 264 to the run and 265 to the pass? Try to defend that. You know, it makes a difference. You know, it's very important to be physical and to have balance. It puts a lot of stress on teams. We've done that well at times, and against some teams it's a little more difficult for us because we're trying to physically get to where we want to be. So to answer your question, it's important to get the run game going, at least be able to have those aggravating runs, you know, 3, 4, 5, and then break one here and there, you know. But so, you know, we'll continue to work on that.
Surprised with all those backs and some of them being as explosive as they are at times that it hasn't been?
Well, it's been, like I said, it's been good at times. Wasn't so good last week, and you have to give credit to LSU for that. They beat us, you know, and they played more physical than us and didn't give us much room.
Mississippi State leads the conference in sacks per game.
Yeah.
They're doing so well.
Well, they're doing. They have an incredible front seven, number one, and number two, they've been ahead quite a bit and scoring some points. So teams are going to have to take some chances and maybe drop back and pass some more than they want to.
Like you mentioned, LSU secondary did a good job against your
Mm-hmm.
competitors. Did Patrick not have a chance because of that? Or are there things Patrick could have done better?
No, certainly Patrick can play better and needs to play better. We missed some opportunities, and that's going to happen. You know, again, not to make an excuse for Patrick because he doesn't need me to do that, but there's going to be some times when you just maybe they're covered, and then maybe they're open and we miss them. Either way, it's not good. You know, and so when you're off and not playing your best, again, it's going to get magnified against a great team, especially on the road down there at LSU.
But in a game like that, when you do get an opportunity, you got to take it.
You have to make those throws. You have to, you do, and we have to catch them, and we got to get open, and all those things. And we definitely were not at our best.
One play with Ryan, was he just, did you lose the ball in there, misjudges, or what happened on that pass? Jumped.
I'm not even sure, to be honest with you. What I didn't ask him yet, or can tell. What was that?
I'm going to ask you about Ryan. What have you seen from him? It seems like he hasn't been quite able to put it together this season the way maybe
Ryan needs to continue to improve. He needs to compete at a higher level, and he needs to step it up. We need him to. If we're going to win games at LSU, or if we're going to win a game at home against the number one team in the country, some of our playmakers need to step up and compete at a high level and make plays and win some one-on-ones and make some plays. And That's what he needs to do. And again, not you asked me specifically about him. There's others. There's all of us. We all accept the responsibility, and again, accept the things that we need to do better, and that's something that he needs to do better.
Was it clear on the film what happened on the squib kick where went after?
We addressed it before they went on the field. We had a good idea they were going to squib it. We had a player make a poor decision.
Does having young players in a situation like this help or hurt, and then they can maybe just forget it, you know?
I think that goes back to Alan's question. We'll see. I think because we got whooped and because we made some mental mistakes, sometimes that could shake somebody's confidence, and we'll see how they respond.
Everybody good?
I have no reason to believe that, though. I have a good feel that we'll bounce back and prepare well and play well.